Nuno and João are partners from the Walking Mentorship, and they bring the inside look in the life of the people they walk with. The podcast Keep Walking With Me searches for potential solutions towards the best version of ourselves. Every month, we walk together with a guest. There is a disclaimer that needs to be shared. After listening to this program, you might feel the urge to step outside and go for a long walk. But don't worry, that is absolutely normal. Welcome to the podcast Keep Walking With Me. Today, we have another very special guest walking and talking with us. So, without further ado, let's start and ask, in a nutshell, who is Luca Bruschi?
Hello, everyone. I'm Luca Bruschi. I come from Italy. I live in Firenze, close to Milan and Bologna, the north of Italy. I'm a very addicted pilgrim and hiking expert. I'm working for the Via Francigena. Via Francigena is a cultural route of the Council of Europe, like the Camino de Santiago. My private passion became a job. So for 20 years, I'm working for the development of the European Via Francigena. My background is in culture, art, and tourism. I have a master degree in tourism and my specialization in communication and marketing.
Well, thank you so much, Luca.
It's
a very, very thorough presentation. But immediately you connected to the Via Francigena, which is what brought us together. And I would really love to have your explanation of what Via Francigena is. So, I mean, everything from the actual route to the name, to the whole history that brought us to what we have today. So can you share with us your explanation of Via Francigena?
The Via Francigena, in short, the Via Francigena is an ancient medieval pilgrimage route starting from Canterbury, going to Rome. Is certified by the Council of Europe, like the Camino de Santiago. It was certified in 1994. Is it connected to the Bishop of Sigeric, the Bishop of Canterbury, that in 1990 walked from Canterbury to Rome, and then he went back to receive the pallium from the Pope. And he has a brilliant idea to write a diary. And this diary now is at the British Museum in London. And thanks to this diary, we rebuilt the legs, the 80 legs from Rome to Canterbury. And today, the modern Via Francigena is connected with the ancient Via Francigena. And then, as you probably know, in the medieval time, Rome, Santiago, and Jerusalem were considered like the three major pilgrimage in Europe. And then there is a strong connection again between Rome, Santiago de Compostela, and Jerusalem. The Via Francigena in 2019 was extending to the very south of Italy, to the Santa Maria di Leuca. This is the ending point of the Via Francigena. It's like the Spanish Finisterre of the Camino de Santiago. So the entire Via Francigena today, from Canterbury, crossing England, France, Switzerland, Italy, to Rome and to Santa Maria di Leuca, is about 3,200 kilometers. So you need 5 months to walk the entire Via Francigena. And is connected more than 700 municipalities along the way and 17 regions. In short, we can consider the Via Francigena a bridge between the north of Europe with the Mediterranean area.
Wow, that's extraordinary, which I cannot avoid to ask, because you've been involved with the European Association of Via Francigena, I believe, for probably more than a decade. So I wonder, what have you seen happening over the time that you have been involved? So what has changed, and what you believe that still needs to be done to make this incredible experience probably more accessible, reachable to everyone?
Yeah, good question. The Via Francigena is getting popular, especially in the last 5-6 years, thanks to this network between different countries, regions, and municipalities that are working together, exchanging good practices in tourism, in culture, in developing local areas. 90% of the municipalities are small towns and villages that had a chance to are on the Via Francigena, and thanks the increased number of pilgrims coming from over the world, they are developing different local economy. They are valorizing the local museums, cultural sites. In terms of sustainable tourism, these hikers and trekkers are supporting the local development of the towns or the municipality, and the Via Francigena is more and more again sustainable. Is an important tool to connect different areas from the north of Europe to the south of Europe. And today, the national ministry and regions are supporting the development of the Via Francigena with money for example, to increase the accommodation for the safe, for example, path, signpostings. So they are more and more involved. As well are involved the local associations or volunteers. They are playing an essential role again for the development of the way. So we can consider the Via Francigena like a car with 4 different wheels. So on one hand, there is the municipalities, the institution. On the other hand, there is the local volunteers. Then we can consider the universities, academia. They are also playing an important role for the development of the Via Francigena. At least, last but not least, we can get the economic and tourist stakeholders to provide services for pilgrims. And then again, we can talk about the restaurants, the hotels, bed and breakfast, or pilgrims accommodation or service to transport the baggages for pilgrims. Just in short, this is the Via Francigena today.
Wow, thank you. It's really a passionate description that you make, and that connects me to what you mentioned in your presentation. You said this was a passion that became a job. Can you tell us a little bit more how that came to be? Where did the passion came from, and then how did it become a job?
Well, when I finished my master in tourism 20 years ago, I'm getting old, and I had a chance to start my traineeship with the Via Francigena Association that is based in Fidenza. Fidenza, where I live, is really in the middle of on the kilometer 1,600. It is exactly in the middle of the European Via Francigena, because in Fidenza in 2001, the association was founded by the mayor of the Via Francigena, the Fidenza, and that is the same mayor is today the president of the European Association of Via Francigena. So at the very beginning, I was the only traineeship, no other people in the staff. Today, we are 12 people, part-time or full-time, in Fidenza, in Piacenza, where we have another office, and also in Champlit in France, where we have an office to develop the French and Switzerland part of the Via Francigena. It's a great job for me, Francigena, because is combining different part of my life: tourism, culture, environment, and the passion for hiking, because I had the chance regularly to walk the Via Francigena. The most exciting part of this job, my passion, was 2 years ago, when, to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the association, we decided to walk the entire Via Francigena from Canterbury to Santa Maria di Leuca, together with journalists, local association, bloggers, influencers, and we walked for 4 months and a half, meeting different mayor, councillor, local association. It was a great experience to celebrate this event and to have a great visibility at international level. Nowadays, we can consider that more than 40 countries are walking on the Via Francigena. Okay, of course, from Italy, from the center of Europe, north of Europe, but the number of people from Australia, from Japan, from Korea of South, from South America, or America of the United States is enormously increasing. So the visibility of this pilgrimage way is getting international.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. I'm just thinking about this 4 months walk. What an amazing amazing thing to do, to celebrate the association, and maybe to continue on this mood of celebration. Maybe it's a good time for you, Luca, to give us your first song and maybe explain why you make that choice.
This is an Italian singer, Rino Gaetano. I really love this singer, and especially the music, really inspiring for me. And I normally at the end of the leg, I really love to hear about Rino Gaetano. In this case, the song is Il cielo è sempre più blu.
All right, so let's listen to it.
Chi vive in baracca, chi suda il salario, chi ama l'amore, i sogni di gloria, chi ruba pensioni, chi ha scarsa memoria, fatto la guerra, chi prende il 60, chi arriva agli 80, chi muore al lavoro, na 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 na. Ma il cielo è sempre più blu, il cielo è sempre più blu. Stato multato, chi possiede la mutua, chi va in farmacia, chi è morto di invidia o di gelosia, chi ha torto ragione, chi è Napoleone, chi grida al ladro, chi ha l'antifurto, chi ha fatto quel quadro, chi scrive sui muri, chi reagisce distinto, chi ha perso, chi ha vinto, chi mangia una volta, chi vuole l'aumento, chi cambia la barca, felice e contento, chi come ha trovato, chi tutto sommato, chi sogna i milioni, chi gioca d'azzardo, chi parte per Beuta in tasca 1 miliardo, chi è stato multato, chi odia i terroni, chi canta Predere, chi copia Baglioni, chi fa il contadino, chi ha fatto la spia, chi è morto di invidia o di gelosia, chi legge la mano, chi vende amuleti, chi scrive poesia, chi tira le reti, chi mangia patate, chi beve un bicchiere, chi solo del santo, chi tutte le sere, na 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 na.
Well, thank you, Luca. We almost traveled to that beautiful blue sky, imagining we're doing the Francigena. Let me go a little bit deeper. So the pilgrims today, of course, have very different characteristics that you already mentioned. They come from very different countries and origins and probably backgrounds. And they, for sure, I mean, some will do it for religious reasons, but I guess many for many other reasons. What would you say is the common thread between all these people, and how do they interact with each other?
Yeah, good question. Because today we can consider that more or less on the Via Francigena only 10% of people, of hikers, walk with religious motivation. For example, the majority of them is for spiritual, personal, culture, also gastronomic, or sport motivation connected with different challenges along the way. The Via Francigena and this kind of walk is flexible. It can be practiced in a different environmental and territorial context, and can therefore connect sea, mountain, and city, for example. Is also transversal. It means it unites different generations. The young generation with the father or the grandfather, they can walk together on the Via Francigena. And that is a social walking trip, because it connects people not only from different social strata, but also creates opportunities for interaction and socialization between local user, local population, and tourists. And then this kind of tourism does not pollute. On foot or bicycle, we know we are kilometer zero. And arriving at a place on foot or by bicycle changes our perception of that destination, village or city. And then walking it's simply, it's a good for our health, and we can walk at any time of the year. And don't forget, the walking, in this case the Via Francigena, makes us happy, help us refocus and regain time. It's also important, this aspect, to talking about the time. I think finding the time to walk across Europe, on Italy in this case, is a great privilege, and then a way to find yourself, ourselves, and to listen to each other slowly, aligning our thoughts with our heart, our legs with our mind. And this is great, this exchange between different people coming again from Japan, from States, from Italy, crossing Europe, meeting the local communities.
And indeed, actually, it's I'm listening to you and thinking about the fact that the routes that we have seen being recovered over the last decades have been playing, I would say, a central role to actually contribute to a better world. I mean, in a broader sense, in terms of the moment you understand better the other, which actually it's not the other, it's yourself, but it just maybe speaks a different language and eats a slightly different food. But there is also the other side of the coin. And actually, I'm curious to ask you one thing, because we at the Walking Mentorship, we unfortunately we only go once a year to Via Francigena. That's a shame. We need to change that, but we go more often, maybe also because of the weather and the specific section we do in Via Francigena, which crosses from Switzerland to Italy at high altitude. And that's actually the reason why we probably don't go that often. But when we go to Spain quite often and we walk a few times a year in the Camino de Santiago, we have hearing, especially lately, locals, which from one side they are very happy with the incredible success of the Camino, because it really revitalizes, all the villages, all the routes. I mean, there's really new life being brought in. But at the same time, there is an expression they are more and more using, which says something like the Camino is killing the Camino. And I do understand what they mean with this. And I just wanted to ask you, since there is this experience, happening in Spain, and obviously they are talking about many, many different things, too much commercialization, increasing of prices, which probably for, let's say, the average pilgrim makes it more difficult to do the experience and becomes something, too specific. How do you think the Via Francigena maybe can learn from some of these situations in the Camino and maybe do it slightly different or better? What do you think?
Yeah, this is a crucial question also for the future of the Via Francigena, because the Santiago is like the big brother, and the Via Francigena is the sister, the young sister of this. But is a very different in practical way. I think there is different also the local approach, the anthropization on the Via Francigena. There are two different things. Camino Santiago and the Via Francigena. Also, the ending point, Santiago is not Rome, so there is two different ending point. Also, if they are connected with the Christian and Catholic roots. But of course, we know that Santiago, in some part of the Camino, especially at the end, is getting like a Disneyland. So we know which has a big impact for the local communities. As you said before, sometimes the Camino, probably is killing the Camino because not so authentic today. Today, the Via Francigena, of course, is really authentic because there are not the same number of pilgrims along the way. Today is supporting the villages and the local communities. In any case, along the Via Francigena, we have not like the pilgrim hostel containing 200 beds, for example, is reduced. Also, the number of pilgrims that can sleep in the single legs, and there are different rules also for the accommodation. Of course, we are seeing with a lot of attention what about the experience of the Camino de Santiago, and just to avoid to repeat some similar situation in terms of pollution, or just to avoid that maybe this kind of international communities walking around the Via Francigena try to kill the Camino, and just to try to preserve the authentic soul of the Via Francigena. But of course, when we talk about this, about the Camino and this kind of experience, we have to mention the economy, because economy is also part of our life like the spiritual part, but also the economic part. So, and then I hope we can find in the future a good compromise to preserve the authenticity about the authenticity about this kind of small villages and local communities along the way, but also for supporting maybe some new experience and having new restaurants or new activity, new services provided for pilgrims. So I don't know if it's easy to find a compromise, but in any case, we have to learn about the Santiago de Compostela, definitely. Yes.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, it's always difficult to find the compromise, but definitely the fact that you are aware and that you are taking that into consideration is already probably a big step into at least looking for the solutions and testing probably some solutions. You mentioned a few stakeholders. Actually, you mentioned the four wheels of a car, and sometimes we realize that this is one of the problems when the institutions are not communicating and are not really aligning their objectives and their issues. Then as natural will happen, that if they don't align, they don't communicate, then things don't make sense. We definitely we realize that there are a far smaller and more limited offer on Via Francigena from the stretches we know. And although it's very nice to have that authenticity, that really kind of very exclusive, not in the sense of being luxury, but in the sense of being special, of being unique. And it's really interesting how that works. And I'm wondering how is the communication between all these stakeholders? I mean, probably the association is trying to do exactly that, but how is that process? How do you manage that, and what are the challenges, I would ask?
Yeah, this is a very good challenge. In this case, our association it was founded on the voluntary basis. It's not an European authority. We're not the Council of Europe, for example. But our role is to try to get in touch, to put in touch all these kind of stakeholders. As I told you at the very beginning, the different stakeholders like institutions with local association, universities with economic stakeholders. We have two general assemblies for a year. 2 weeks ago, we were in Calais, the north of France. In October, we'll be in Pavia in Italy. Next year, we'll be in Switzerland, again in Italy. It's two important event moments just to have a state of art of the Via Francigena, talking about this real and concrete situation that pilgrims find along the Via Francigena, as for example, of course, the sign postings, the maintenance, the safety of the route, the accommodation. But we are really trying to push in a very positive way on to do lobbying with the mayor and the councillor, just to involve more and more the institutions, just to ask them to include the Via Francigena for the national, regional, or local strategy of tourism and culture to develop more the Camino. Again, providing different services. We are trying to use different languages. As you can imagine, it's different to have this kind of discussion, this kind of approach with the municipality or with the local association, with economic stakeholders or with the university.
Indeed.
There are different tone of voice, we can say that in a polite way. But of course, we are trying to keep this great energy that is along the Camino, where each players have to play the main role. So our role is to try to keep all together in this green motorway from Canterbury to Santa Maria di Leuca.
Well, that's a good vision, keep all together. And maybe it's a good time for you to give us your second song and help us on this task.
The second song is about is a Coldplay, is one of my favorite group. Is normally when I hear about the Coldplay, I can increase my walking performance. I can walk for 30, 40, 50 kilometers. It's really inspiring for me. So I hope it's inspiring also for you.
All right, let's
listen to Gravity.
It's been a long time coming, such a long, long time, and I can't stop running, such a long, long time. Can you hear my heart beating? Can you hear that sound? 'Cause I can't help thinking, and I won't stop now. And then I looked up at the sun, and I could see all the way that gravity pulls on you and me. And then I looked up at the sky and saw the sun, and the way that gravity pushes on everyone, on everyone. Baby, when your wheels start turning and you feel let down, and it seems like troubles have come all around. I can hear your heart beating, I can hear that sound, but I can't help thinking, and I won't look now. And then I looked up at the sun, and I could see all the way that gravity pulls on you and me. And then I looked up at the sky gravity pushes on everyone, on everyone. On everyone.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Luca. Now we'll try to little by little land again on planet Earth. I promise this is our last question about Via Francigena, and then we'll move on to different topics, but I cannot resist. Do you have a favorite section for hiking in Via Francigena? And if you had to choose just one, which one will be and why?
Yeah, this is a very very hard question for me, but yeah, I had a chance to walk to the entire Via Francigena, but probably the most iconic part of the Via Francigena, fantastic in terms of environment, food, local communities, the Tuscany part, probably between, we can see between Siena to Radicofani is the very ending part of the Tuscany. We are talking about the more or less 100 kilometers. There are picturesque villages and municipalities with amazing landscape and amazing food and amazing local communities you can meet every meter.
Well, we need to put it on the list, Nuno.
Yeah, we need to check that out because it sounds amazing. Well, let me take here a spin on what we've been discussing, and let me connect a little bit with the idea that we are connecting that the Via Francigena is connecting different people from different parts of the world. In what sense do you feel that this is actually being, as you mentioned, the bridge to really bring forward a more human, more grounded and let's say aware humanity?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is one of the most important intangible point of the Via Francigena, of course, also for the Camino de Santiago, the most important European pilgrimage ways, but the connections, the meetings with the local communities and international pilgrims is probably the most important parts of this Camino, because there is a real exchange, and then there is a real connection in terms of humanity, and of course we need that. And the Via Francigena, especially after the COVID period, had a great explosion after the COVID pandemic, because of course everyone knows that the pandemic has changed the approach towards an open air, often kilometer zero tourism. And today pilgrims from all over the world come to the Via Francigena, and then discovering this important local dimensions. And the people really love to get in touch with this kind of local villages where you can find a great authenticity, meeting people. Maybe people that don't speak English, but in any case, especially in Italy, they are specialized in using hands to communicate with people. And in any case, this is international language, the body language that could connect everyone along the Via Francigena. Could be in England, in France, in Switzerland, and in Italy. Yeah, this is probably the most important thing in terms of social, cultural development of the territories crossed.
Well, I would like to suggest you to tell us what's the third song you brought us today.
Yeah, the third song, the last one, is the song is one of my favorite, The Weather. And normally when I heard about the weather in the Via Francigena, there are always memorable and moving moments, especially about this song. So this is the last one, and I hope you can enjoy this music.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also a great soundtrack of a great movie.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of connection. It's really, can say, open-minded and inspiring.
Let's listen to it.
When I walk beside her, I am the better man. When I look to leave her, I always stagger back again. Once I built an ivory tower so I could worship from above. When I climbed down to be set free, she took me in again. There's a big hard sun beating on the big people in a big hard world. When she comes to greet me, she is mercy at my feet. Yeah, when I see her pin her charm, she just throws it back at me. Once I dug an early grave to find a better land. She just smiled and laughed at me and took her blues back again. There's a big hard sun beating on the big people in the big hard world. Oh, there's a big hard sun beating on the big people in the big hard world. When I go to cross that river, she is comfort by my side. When I try to understand, she just opens up her hands. Bound down and flew away the hours of her garden and her son.
Luca. We always get inspired with this kind of songs, and again, traveling in space and time to Via Francigena. Looking forward to be there. Well, I think we're gonna kick off with our series of unfair questions in the way that they might sound a little bit difficult to reply, but really just your honest answer is always the right answer. So I will kick off, and this is the question: if you could if you could take off on any adventure today, I mean any adventure, no restraints or whatsoever, you could go just without having to ask permission to anyone, what would be the adventure that you would like to take today?
All right. Okay, that is clear. I really dream to go walking to Jerusalem one day. So this is one of my dreams, especially since I start my working and walking experience with the Via Francigena. And yeah, for my Jerusalem, it means an important connection with the different world cultures. So crossing Italy, crossing Turkey, Greece, Republic of North Macedonia, and going to Jerusalem, I think could be one of the most important experience in my life. Yeah, of course, I hope one day to join this dream.
Well, after doing Canterbury, Rome, I don't think that's very unlikely. So I look forward to see the pictures and the videos of your trip.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Never.
Well, that's amazing. Luca, what do you think we are missing as humans?
This is in general question, or is
in general? If we are missing something, huh?
Well, yes. This is a very complicated question. No, I'm not sure I'm missing something. Now, this is our now we are living day per day the development of the human society, and then I see, of course, the society is developing too fast, and if we see back 50 years, 100 years, or the last 3 or 4 centuries, so probably the development of the life, the humanity was not so fast, and in some one hand is getting dangerous. We are the sensation sometimes to lose the control. And probably again, a reason why we need to walk slowly, just to herd, just to follow the rhythm of nature. It is a rediscover time. It is a deep and dilated time, not measurable when we walk. And then again, probably, I think it means we can get back. We can receive feeling a great sense of balance and serenity each time if we proceed slowly and not so fast.
Indeed.
That's a great answer. Yeah.
Indeed.
Well, and I think it's time for our final question, which is a classic and always gives place to very interesting answers. And the question is this: if you had a time capsule, like something you could place a message in a bottle, but maybe shoot it out into the universe, and it could be opened tomorrow or in 1,000,000 years, who knows by whom? So maybe another human, or maybe whatever else. Is there a message or an object, or what would you place inside such a time capsule that you could send into the future?
Yeah, about the future, I think to be to be honest, could be a very different messages I would like to share with the future humanity. But of course, I think it's to be every time natural, and then I don't have a specific message. Just to be connected with the real time and to learn about past, just to study, just to learn, just to know what before us is happened, and just to try to know better history and our past.
That's
yes, again, time is always the nature, and time the good teachers.
Exactly.
Yes. Actually, I have to tell you on a kind of a personal note that one of the things that truly inspired me for the very, very first time I walked in Via Francigena actually was the feeling that I was crossing a ground with so much history that I felt, first of all, absolute ignorant on my first time. I still do, but now I understand at least that there is so much there. And the more the more I continue to read and explore exactly what you said about the past, suddenly the route gains a different dimension. And it's quite interesting to see when we take our groups there, which obviously they are doing a specific mentoring work, but when we share the stories that at least some of the stories we've learned on these paths, it's impossible for the people to look where they are the same way before and after the story, because the place just gains a different dimension. So thank you very much for this time capsule.
Yeah, no, yes, of course, there are a lot of different steps of history, and especially walking. This is a paradox, but also walking, you have the speed of 4 kilometers per hour. You have not enough time to know everything, because there is too much. Also walking along this kind of historic path, and then in any case, is great to try to be connected with our history step by step.
Indeed.
Definitely. I think that you pointed it correctly. It's a paradox because, in fact, there will never be enough time.
No.
So you can only enjoy the time you have, because otherwise you're always at a loss. It's just impossible. Well, Luca, thank you so much for this wonderful talk. It was very inspiring and left us even with more willingness to go back to Via Francigena, and maybe to look for a second Via Francigena to do in the in the winter, or at least out of summer. What do you think, João? Maybe this is something
I think
to
so.
work on.
You know, I can always blame on Luca, because when you start talking about this section, departing from Siena, the first thing I did was to go on Google Maps and count how many kilometers and days I need to do from Siena to Rome, because I have to share one thing with you. I have a few, not many, but I have a few pilgrim passports of Via Francigena, which, by the way, I never conclude any, because I never got to Rome. So imagine, I've been thinking about this for many years already. I have a bunch of them in the office, but one of these days I definitely need to pick one of those and finalize, which is actually also something quite interesting. You know, you start something, you never finish, you never go to the end. But now that you gave us this incredible tip, where to start and what to do, I don't know, Noon. I think we need to do this.
It's a never-ending story.
Sure.
Well, Luca, thank you very much. What a pleasure. And
thank you. It was a pleasure, and keep in touch, definitely. I hope we can meet soon. In any case, keep in touch for next also experience along the Via Francigena, and you are welcome on the Francigena. And thanks for your job, of course, for your dissemination and your you are the important ambassador for promoting at international level this way. Thank you.
Keep Walking with Me. It is a podcast inspired by the walking mentorship experience. Step by step, we walk together towards the best version of ourselves. For more information about our mentoring programs, visit our website walkingmentorship.com.